If you followed the content website space, you've almost certainly ran across this gentleman right here, Spencer Haws, who runs this website, nichepursuits.com, in which he shares a lot of good information on building niche websites. I don't really like to call them niche websites. I like to call them content websites or content businesses, but fundamentally the same thing. He shares a lot of good information on that, and he also documents and shares his case studies. So in this video, I wanted to look at his prior case study, talk about his exit, and talk about what happened to that and kind of some problems I see with what he was doing and maybe how we could avoid those going forward. So first of all, let's just start right here. He had this website, Own the Yard, and he called it Niche Site Project 4. He's been running these for years, and I've been following him personally for like 10 years. I don't know how long, but it seems like for as long as I've been in the space, and I've been in the space since '09, it seems like he's been there in some capacity too. So I don't, really follow closely everything he does, but I loosely follow it. I'll kind of check in every couple months and refresh my memory on his content and follow up on his new content, etc. And this kind of came onto my radar last night. I guess I was thinking about this. I'm like, oh, whatever happened to Own the Yard? So I logged on anyways. And well, I guess we'll talk about what happened to it. But for those of you unfamiliar with it, he published all of the details behind him building this website and the income reports. This is one that I found. I think he's got more than that. Eventually, the site got up to like making $6,000 a month, and then it turns out he sold it. So here he's got this podcast, and I think there's some other documentation online where he talks about how he sold this site, owntheyard.com, for over $250,000. And that is not the literal number, but it's like a figurative number. He doesn't share the actual number, and he sold the site as a package with another site. But he's just saying, hey, the multiple based on its earnings, based on that number, based on that calculation, we could allocate $250,000 to the exit value. So he sold this website, I'm guessing, around the turn of the year. Most people try to kind of buy and sell right around January 1 when they're buying and selling businesses. And based on the date that this was last updated, January 24th, 2022, it seems like that's about when that happened, probably right there in the first week of the year, and then he got around to making this. So let's just talk about it. He sold the site for $250,000 in January 2022. Let's see how that site is doing now. So I popped it into SEMrush, and this is where things get kind of funky. And in January 2022, we can see the site was, at nearly all-time highs or close to its all-time high of estimated traffic. Mind you, SEMrush is just an estimate. In my experience, the actual traffic is usually a good bit more than what it estimates. But, it's a good bit more than what it estimates. So it's, it's not the actual amount of traffic, but it's a good trend indicator. Is the website trending up or is it trending down? What we can see here is that this site has not fared well at all in the updates of 2022. Google's had a few updates this year in 2022, and this thing has gone down to damn near zero. I mean, like if we look at the high and we consider the high an estimate of 80,000 per month to where it is now at 2,400 per month, I mean, that's like a drawdown of like 96% in traffic. So when he sold it right here, this thing was looking great. I'm sure, because this is how businesses are valued, people look at the last 12 months financials. There was certainly a very solid uptrend. You can see it here going back to when it was really non-existent in 2018. Strong trend up, and then boom, 22 rolls around. The algo updates are not very friendly at all to this website. And if I were a buyer of this website and I bought this website in December 2021, I would be absolutely freaking pissed. Because, this would mean that, if your traffic drops 96% like this, so is your revenue. And mind you, this buyer paid a multiple, and I forget where it is. I don't know if it's in here. Yeah, the site was averaging about $6,000 a month when I sold it. So he sold it for about a 40x multiple, as we can see right there. 40x on that $6,000 a month. And the buyer is basing that on the fact that this income stream is going to continue. But it hasn't. And we can tell that by the traffic. A niche site or content website like this is 100% dependent. In this case, there were no ads being ran to this website. I know that from following the case study. It was purely dependent on Google traffic. So yes, conversion rate optimization and stuff like that has an impact on it, but if it's doing $6,000 a month while it's right here with that traffic and the traffic drops, the income's going to go down proportionately. So the person bought a $250,000 asset right there, and if we just do the math and say 6,000 times, let's say the traffic dropped 96%, we'll call it 95%, just to put a good number in there, right? So now the revenue goes down to $300 a month. My God, as that number hits me and I read that right off the top of my head, I feel so bad for whoever bought this. And then, you multiply that out by 40, it's multiple. You went from a $250,000 asset to a $12,000 asset. I mean, this thing, it literally didn't go to zero, but metaphorically here, this went to fucking zero. It is not a good look. So yeah, if I were the person that bought this website, I would be incredibly pissed off about this. That said, that is part of the risk that you assume when you buy a content business that is reliant 110% on one channel, and that is Google traffic, Google organic traffic. And we could further extend that to say, beyond a content business, that applies to any business when you rely on one source of customer acquisition. You see a lot of e-commerce businesses pop up, and they just blow it out of the fucking water with Facebook ads, and they're pulling in $1 million a month in revenue. 99% of that revenue is coming from Facebook ads. Well, in that case, you are one Facebook ads update away from going to zero or having a catastrophe like this. Quite frankly, I think it is less risky when you're dependent on ads, because if you can fund the business on Facebook ads, chances are that you can fund the business with other advertising platforms here. In this case, a niche website or content website that's relying basically on affiliate income or display advertising income cannot sustain itself with advertising. There's no product that they can actually sell that's going to make money. Now, there are ways of doing that with a website, right? And you can add your own products in and add your ebooks in, or ebooks. You can add ebooks, you can add info products, you can white label and drop ship, so you can kind of become a e-commerce content business, right? There's ways of doing it, but this website was not doing. This was simply a play on Google traffic, or a ride on Google traffic to content. So let's just look at the website here real quick. OwnTheYard.com. Here it is. This is OwnTheYard.com. This is the website that was making $6,000 a month when it was sold for $250,000, and I can tell you that from looking at that chart right there, it's not making anywhere close to that. And we can see the content on it, and to me, this just looks like general affiliate content, right? So let's just shift gears now and talk about where things went wrong here, and what you could look for in a business that's going to stand the test of time as a content website. And when we look at this website, like I said, I just see this as a general content website here. And, when I read this, like let's just open some of these pages up. I don't know if it's not loading, if that's on my end or what. It's trying to stick some ad in here. Well, number one, this whole thing is plastered with ads. And, if you think Google wants to serve websites to its users that are just loaded up and plastered with fucking ads like this, you're delusional, all right? Like, Google wants to filter these websites out of their search results, especially on mobile, because when you load this thing on mobile, you're just stuffed with so many ads on the page that it's hard to decipher even like what the actual content is on the page. You're just kind of scrolling through and getting all these ads. And it's hard to actually get the content. And I don't know why these images are not loading. I've got fast internet here. I've got fast internet, and I've got a brand new, literally less than a week old MacBook Pro. So I don't think this is on my end. But when I'm looking at this content and just skimming it, I'm not seeing any personality. I'm not seeing any expertise injected. this is just kind of written by, say, a high quality generic content writer, like something that you would pay, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 cents a word for. The person cares enough about the topic to do a little bit of research. They're a native English speaker, or they at least have very good English writing skills and training behind them, but they're not an actual hands-on expert, in the topic of how to kill squirrels. That would require somebody that's actually been in the pest control and pest management business or has a career in that field. This just seems like it was something that was assigned to anybody at a content writing service. It might be okay, but I don't think anybody's going to read this and say, oh my gosh, that was just mind-blowing. Right? So we see the problem with display ads on here, and then we also see it with content quality. Those are two of the problems I see. There's the whole theory of, maybe it's not theory, I don't really follow it closely, but there's EAT, expertise, authority, and trust. When you look at this, I don't see any expertise, I don't see much authority, and it's got so many ads on it, I just don't see this thing as trustworthy at all. This is just, to me, and maybe this is a jaded view because I've been in the digital marketing space for so long at this point, but this just seems like your typical run-of-the-mill content website. Like, there's nothing fucking special about it. Somebody bought a bunch of content, dumped it up on a website, or they did some keyword research, bought the content, dumped it up on a website, and whoop, there it is, right? Here's owntheyard.com, and after a few years, it makes $6,000 a month, and now somebody wants to sell it. And somebody sold it, and somebody bought it. And as I've been saying, if I bought this, I'd be freaking livid. And I don't know what the legalities are around this. Like, if you buy a content website and it goes to zero, do you have any recourse? I'm not sure. I'm not an attorney. I've never had to go down that road. I would assume no. It's just, a risk of doing business in the content space. So now, I know I started off by saying Spencer's been in the space for a while and he publishes a lot of good information. And I kind of tear him down with this own the yard thing here. But let's just kind of flip the gears on this and look at what he's done well, okay? And that is his site nichepursuits.com. And this is in sharp contrast to where we're looking at this own the yard here, which I would say the site did not stand the test of time, and that is a huge, huge, huge risk of buying a content business. If we look at nichepursuits.com, things look very, very different. I popped this into SEMrush already, so I know what this is going to look like. And here we can see there's no crash in 2022 traffic. You can see it spiked up, it went down a little bit. Mind you, it went down, it may have had like a drawdown, what is that, 86 to 37, so that's a little bit more than half. I mean, web traffic does not always go up, it does go down, but as we see here, this is a problem. Like, this went down nearly zero. That's just a painful chart to look at. Anyways, in this case here, the web traffic went down and then went back up, and he's having a record-breaking year here in 2022 for his nichepursuits.com website. Now, when we look at this, you just get a lot more expertise, authority, and trust out of it. I don't really know how to quantify it, but when you look at it, you know that there's a lot of research and expertise going into this. You see real people behind all of this stuff, and these success stories are something that I actually want to check out. I've really not paid any attention to the success stories on it. And now that I'm here, I'm actually going to spend a few hours going through it. They're great stories. Editor picks, right? So we see a lot of it. How to build a successful niche website campaign that can make $5,000 a month. I don't know about that, but I like this one here. We see examples of actual use and actual hands-on experience. We see a person here who has some experience behind it. And then latest articles. Now here we start seeing different authors. That was one thing I noticed. Not that you need different authors, but you need authors that are topic authorities or topic experts. So if we click on these, people, we've already got a Devin Hargrove. Let's just go Colin Lynette. Boom, we get an overview, a little brief bio, and then we get to see all of the topics that they have written on here. So that's pretty cool. And we know that these are real people, right? And how Family Destinations grew to 3 million plus monthly visitors in 3 years. That's incredible. Family Destinations Guide. It might be one to pop into SEMrush and check it all out. Another person here with hands-on experience in the digital marketing space. And when you click a lot of these posts, and I've read some of them, you can see that they're actually using and explaining it. This one I would not say is a very good example of it. But a lot of these posts that you look at on this website show hands-on experience, hands-on authority, or authority built through hands-on experience. And you see that reflected in niche pursuits, and that is not something you see here in Own the Yard and How to Kill Squirrels. And also, again, the site's loaded up with ads, which I think are a horrible user experience. I get why people do it, because historically it has made a ton of money, but it's a big risk. Whereas this site, it's got some ads on it, but not nearly as many in the content body, particularly as the other site. Overall, you can just tell that this is a professional operation and that there are experts working with this brand, whereas with this one, there's not. And finally, I guess, before we sign off on this here, brand, that is something I didn't touch on, but had I thought about it or had I pre-planned this, I certainly would have included it. Brand is really huge, and I bet if we go to nichepursuits.com and let's go to view keyword details, I bet we will find niche pursuits in here, or Spencer Haws, right? Like, I guess niche pursuits isn't going to have any, traffic to compare with StubHub. Let's just see if it's one of their top keywords for traffic generation. I sorted this by traffic percentage from keyword. There it is right there. So niche pursuits actually gets an estimated 210 branded searches a month, and that puts it in, this is 100 of them that are on there. I'd say that puts it on, it puts it in the top 50 traffic generating keywords of the website. Actually, that might even be like the top 20 or top 30. Its own brand is generating, that much volume of traffic to the website, meaning people are typing in that brand name and clicking on this website. That is huge. That's incredibly powerful, and I think that's an incredibly powerful ranking factor. And you might also find Spencer Haws in here, as in his own name. Yeah, Spencer Haws, 320. Interestingly enough, it estimates not that much traffic coming from it. But still, the branded search power behind that is still huge. So is he? Yeah, okay. Spencer Haws, he's in the top 100 of his own keywords, right? He's built a brand around niche pursuits, and Own the Yard just simply never had that. If we go back to owntheyard.com, Own the Yard wasn't a brand. It was simply this content website that leeches on Google. So we come in here, let's just type in Own the Yard. And right, Own the is not even in the top 100 of all the keywords. If we go, let's just type that in and see if it gets any traffic. Yeah, it's not even a keyword at all. There was no brand behind Own the Yard here. So what can we take away from all of this before we wind down and sign off? And I would say that, number one, as I've already said, content-based businesses that exist solely on Google traffic are incredibly fucking risky, right? If Google makes an algo update, you're as good as gone. And you may know this about me, but I'm in the paid advertising space. The thing and the reason why I like paid advertising, besides for the fact that you can just get results like now, today, if I want to set up an ad campaign for something, I can start making sales, in a few hours, is that if you've budgeted to acquire customers through paid acquisition, you can carry that over to other platforms, number one. And number two, if you're paying the platforms, they will keep serving you. Like, I know there's the whole thing about the iOS cookie apocalypse. You might know about this that happened last year. That didn't slow down advertising at all. Like, the people that say that that was a big conundrum or a big problem or just killed their ads, they were never having any success with ads as far as I'm concerned to begin with. Whereas in my case, it didn't slow me down at all. I remember when it did the update, I'm like, all right, when is everything going to zero? But nothing for me went to zero. And in fact, in 2022, I'm having a record year. Beyond that, though, you can carry over the concepts to other advertising platforms, whereas organically, the platforms are trying to reduce your exposure so that you pay for ads. But in this case of a content business model, you cannot afford it. You cannot afford to pay for advertising and then resell the advertising space. Some people can do it at a very weird high level and make like 1 penny per click type of thing. It's called click or ad arbitrage. But fundamentally with a content website, you cannot do that. So yeah, another thing, consider user experience and how your ads impact people. Consider the expertise and authority and trust of the website and the content you're publishing. And finally, build a brand. So guys, on that note, I hope you found this helpful and insightful. If you did, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. I'm signing off on this one.